Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, folks, and welcome into another Flames versus Blues post-game live reaction analysis and highlights here on the Game Over Network. My name's Conrad Krausert, and joining me today is Marek Robinson, another one of the new faces you might be seeing a little bit more of here on the Game Over Network. Welcome, Marek.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to hopefully being on this show a bit more. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I'm sorry I invited you on for what I referred to as the hockey equivalent of watching paint dry. Uh, it's
Yeah,
no,
no.
it's no 1-3-1 trap, but the Blues don't play much more inspired hockey than that.
Oh no, not really. They just outplayed the Flames tonight. There was not much go after the first puck drop, which was kind of unfortunate considering they lost 2-1 not even less than a week ago to the Blues. I think it was like what, 2 days ago or something like
Yeah,
that.
it would have been 2 days ago. The good old baseball road trip, as a lot of people were calling it,
Yeah.
where you don't have a lot of time to think about how to change things or how to address anything your opponents did. You just get to bounce right back. But before we go any further, I do have to read the things that pay the bills. So it's time to shift into hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all the biggest stories in hockey. Bring a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flair. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that drives debate, makes you think, and a whole lot more. Join Max Van Oat, Daphne Malbouf, and Kevin Larmé every Tuesday and Friday for your fill of the hot stories around the hockey world. Watch on YouTube on our Game Over Network homepage, or you can catch it on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. And make sure to leave a review. It does help with all those algorithm things that nobody wants to talk about. And if you want to learn more, head over to the GameOverNetwork.com website for more info. Oh, it's always so fun talking about algorithms right to open up your show. But this game almost felt like it was algorithmic in how once the first period was over, you kind of felt the Flames didn't have a lot of jump to get back into this one.
No, I would agree. I think you were right away. You were, I think, outshot. It was literally 6-1 shot difference to the first part of the game. Like the first 4 or 5 minutes, I think it was quite literally all the Blues, and then obviously you get the first one, but after that, it was just the Flames were trying to battle back, but not much was gonna give.
So we'll start with the first goal, which was just kind of an abysmal shift for the pairing of Joel Hanley and Mackenzie Weegar. They both give it away 2 or 3 times behind
Yeah.
their own net. Blues eventually work it out front. Dylan Holloway, now that he's changed from a blue and orange jersey to a blue and yellow one, still playing nightmares on the Flames as he gets the assist on the Braden Shen opener. And I gotta say, ever since the birthday game down in Anaheim, it feels like Mackenzie Weegar's kind of taken a little step back. He's still
Yeah.
maybe one of the best defenders we've got, but there's a little bit of hitch in the giddy up there.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think, well, in my notes, I had like Uyghur just got pickpocketed and it was bing bang in the back of the net, right? It was just like, you can't really blame anyone. You got outplayed and you gotta take it with a grain of salt and you gotta move forward. But unfortunately, they didn't. But like, it wasn't even like they just didn't battle back. Like, usually from the games that I've seen, you get outplayed a bit, but then you get a bit of pushback. You get that drive going, but then once like the first goal hit, it was just like the Flames didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah, and we saw that kind of on the Colton Parayko goal as well,
Yeah.
assist to Fowler and Thomas. But Kevin Ball loses the puck, then gives, I would have called it one of the weakest slashes of the NHL season thus far. Arm was in the air. Bennington, or it wasn't Bennington. Who was their goaltender tonight? Oh, that's the worst for
Joel
me.
Hofer.
Joel Hofer.
Hofer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hofer was heading to the bench, but doesn't matter. Delayed call. Blues maintain possession, and Parayko finds a way through. All of this results from another defensive giveaway. This time it's Kevin Ball, who I think has been one of the bright spots for the Flames, being relied upon to play a lot of minutes up playing on that top pairing with Rasmus Anderson, but giveaway, penalty, goal. Like, that's three minuses on the game sheet for me.
Oh, for sure. And unfortunately for Wolf, it wasn't the best goal. Just literally just a slap shot that went just right through the 5 hole. And it was just like, ah. and it just felt like the Flames just kept digging their grave at that point.
Yeah, I'm thinking back in my brain to all the goals we've seen when Dustin Wolf's been a goaltender. I think that's the one he's going to want to have back. Just didn't get his
Oh, for
pads down.
sure.
Colton Parayko,
Yeah,
does have a great shot. I don't have any of the stats on miles per hour on that one, but just seemed like he underestimated the caliber of shot coming from the Blues D-man. And then Kyrou, again, another delayed penalty call. This one wasn't as much of a defensive lapse as the other ones, but just too much
yeah,
room given, losing board battles.
yeah,
And
100%.
you allow Kyrou, who is a goal scorer, to pull that thing that we saw from Matthew Coronado two games ago. Just finds that little empty spot to get the quick release away. He scores his 20th of the season, and there was kind of a lot of talk about how quiet Kyrou was in game one, but he kind of seemed to be all around it today.
Oh, for sure. And it's a little unfortunate. He's a bit of an underrated player, and I think many people seem to forget how good Kyrou is. And when you give him that space and time, more times than not, he's gonna put that in the back of the net like he did then.
Yeah, and it's hard to say you underestimate a 20 goal scorer already
Yeah.
halfway through the season, but I would certainly agree with you. He's not a household name by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
Um,
exactly. Well, even surprisingly enough, like Robert Thomas, he 1 assist on the night, but like he's even just as big as Jordan Kyrou after his season last year. But keeping the big guys quiet, but again, didn't really change much in the whole grand scheme of things.
yeah, and as we said, after that, it was kind of all over. You saw Igor Sharangovich try and push this team back into it. Gets his second goal in as many games after not scoring for 15. So that's the one building block we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. But it was the shot we were so reverent of last year, that quick release, accurate, and it seems that he's found some chemistry with the young duo of Cairns and Peltier.
Yeah, I really liked Karen's play. Obviously, you're filling in for Connor Zary after, and thankfully, from the news that I've seen, it's not as bad as many people
It's
thought it was going to
it's
be.
not as bad, but it's still going to be a long time.
Yeah.
Is kind of the
Oh, no,
gist of
for
it.
sure. But he's fit in nicely, and I think Sharon Govich has been able to kind of not necessarily coach, but like since it's Karen's kind of first like crack at the NHL level, Sharon Govich has kind of been able to mold him into kind of areas that he's been able to make passes, and he's been able to help Sharon Govich get those goals in. And Jacob Pelche, the known penalty guy, on the score sheet in a good way,
Yeah.
which is nice to see.
Yeah, and for Peltier and Cairns being able to kind of grow up last year together in Cairns' first year out of the ECHL, because we have to remember that 2 years ago Rory Cairns was playing in the East Coast, and now to make it all the way up to the show in just 2 years says something about
Yeah.
the Flames center depth, number one, but also says something about him as a player and having that
Oh, for
belief to
sure.
propel himself to that level.
Well, I remember I heard something where he was kind of just put into a spot with the Wranglers and kind of just proved that and he took that spot and he was not giving it back, and obviously the Calgary Flames took notice, and I think they've made a good decision
Yeah, and
picking
then
him up.
the Blues finally did get to go on the actual power play, and just a nice
Yeah.
shot from Braden Shen coming down the wing. Or it was a tip. It was a neighbor's shot that Shen got the tip on.
Yeah, but
Nothing much
it was,
Wolf could do about it. Game was essentially over at this point. Flames needed to score 3 goals in, let's call it, 3 minutes, and that was just
Yeah.
kind of a little salt in the wound.
Yeah, it also didn't help too that the Blues practically went untouched from their goal line, from pretty much goal line to goal line. Like they break out, Shen takes the puck past the red line, passes it over to Jake Neighbors, who just takes the shot, and Shen's there for the tip. But I know it's a penalty kill, but you gotta at least have some pressure. You shouldn't be able to walk effortlessly through all 3 zones and then put it into the net.
So with that all said and done, that was the final. Flames not able to score at all in the third. So St. Louis wins the season series by 3-0. And for a team that's trying to stick in this playoff hunt, that one's got to be a little bit of a burr in the saddle, so to say. This is someone you're going to be battling it out for with that wild card race. And if you end up losing, you have to look to your head-to-head and just see that big old
Yeah.
goose egg in the win column.
Yeah, the Flames, well, I don't know if the stats for today's game have been put into the NHL standings, but currently the Flames hold the last wild card spot, but St. Louis is 1 point behind them. So you're
Yeah,
not
they were 3
safe
points
by any
behind.
means.
They were 3 points behind going into today, so they have been
Oh, okay.
updated.
Okay, perfect.
And you also have the Canucks
Yeah.
sneaking behind you, and they still have 2 games in hand, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
So
believe
that's a
so.
potential, if you assume, even with how bad the Canucks have been as of late, that they're going to win one of those 2. They'll jump over you.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's try and stay on the bright side here a little bit and talk about the performance of Dustin Wolf after that first period. Because a lot of young goaltenders, regardless of their pedigree, when they get to this NHL level and they see a couple of quick goals, like as you saw the Parayko goal and Kyrou scored within just under 2 minutes of each other,
Yeah.
and know that that's going down 3-0, a lot of young goaltenders will kind of start to fold from there. But I thought Dustin Wolf actually played admirably. Like, he had no chance on that Braden Chen goal, so held the Flames within striking distance at the very least.
Oh, for sure. And, well, the Flames having 13 penalty minutes, obviously that puts a little bit more strain on Wolf, who at times was left out to dry. Like, the Uyghur one gets pickpocketed, and before you know it's in the back of your net. Like, you're looking behind you, and you see your defenseman having the puck, and then immediately there's a Blues player right in front of your face who's with the puck, just going to shoot it above you, right?
Yeah.
You could almost say you're a little bit left out to dry, but all in all, I don't think you can say this is all Wolf's fault. Wolf played a decent game, regardless of stats or whatever, but I think if I'm Dustin Wolf, you take this game and be like, okay, we lost, whatever. I didn't play too bad. You move on. It's not a game you need to dwell on, right?
I'm certainly in agreement with that assessment. I think there is a lot of weight on Dustin Wolf's shoulders. When this team is, their calling card this year is we can't score more than 3 goals, that puts a lot of pressure on whoever's between the pipes, whether it be Dan Vladar, who did play admirably in game 1 of this 2-game set. And then you have Wolf, who tried to bounce back as best I think anyone can here in this game to give the Flames a fighting chance. You can't have faith in the guys in front of you. It's the Toronto Blue Jays problem. Like, you can pitch a shutout for 8 innings, but if you get no runs, you're not going to win any games, right?
No,
Run support matters.
100%. And obviously with this, like, he's right in that Calder race, so obviously the media is going to be all over that, as well as stuff with Celebrini, Matvei Michkov, right? So, and with a goalie, being a goalie is such a mental task. So having all this stuff and being a rookie, you got to find it's hard, but you got to be very, very fast and adapt to it all. The media and all this stuff, and if you're Wolf, you got to just ignore it, move on. It's a bad game. You'll have a good one the next game. You move on, right?
And it's not like he's playing for a team like the Carolina Hurricanes, where you can go to the grocery store and no one knows who you are. You're playing in one of the most hockey-mad cities in Canada, especially when you're a young prospect and a young star in this city.
Yeah,
it's
especially
part of
the past. Oh, sorry, you go.
It's part of the reason we saw Adam Fox didn't want to come here. He didn't want to have that level of being under the microscope. And we say that as he goes to New York, because that's so much better when you're an athlete.
Yeah, no, exactly.
There. But does play into some of these things when some of these guys are young and coming into... I love Calgary. I'm born and raised here. I've spent a couple years away, but I love this city. It has a lot of positives to it, but when you're an athlete, especially for the Flames, you are the thing in town during the winter. Like, you are
for sure. Yeah.
the most known commodity, so you don't really get to turn yourself off unless you're deciding you want to go live off in, let's call it Airdrie, and drive in to the Dome every day. But I don't think there's a lot of Flames players that are deciding to do that.
No, and what's nice recently too with the obviously you heard I'm sure you heard that the quote Rasmus Anderson of not wanting to leave Calgary. It's like players are starting to want to play in Calgary, which is really nice to see. Obviously living in the city,
Yeah.
um, but you gotta build off that. If you want to play in Calgary, you gotta show up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
And
looking at just,
Rasmus did not have a good game either today. I think he was
no.
a -3 if my brain's.
I'm on the stat sheet. It says -2, so he might have been on for the goal.
Yeah, but not credited. Oh, he was on for one. He was on for the shorthanded goal against, which doesn't count in plus
Oh,
minus because plus minus
right,
is a
right.
garbage
Yeah,
stat.
yeah. That makes no, I actually that's new to me. I did not know they did
Yep,
not count. That makes no
because
sense.
because you aren't considered at even strength. It is a even strength stat.
It's a goal's a goal, like regardless
I
of what.
agree.
Like,
Plus minus is a bad stat. There's a reason advanced analytics exists because. But yeah, it wasn't when you. So we'll talk about this more in the third period of the game though. So let's do an ad read, then we'll head to the second period because we'll be a little bit more positive in the second before coming back maybe to earth in the third. So, looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing 30 young journalists, analysts, and broadcasters across Canada? If you have a few spare bucks kicking around, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. Links are also in the description. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us to get off the ground. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, and opportunities to give us feedback so that we can continue to grow even better, and maybe some easy and early access to potential live events. I know we've got one potentially in the works, but there'll be plenty of more ways that you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to spare a few dollars, we do have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe both on Patreon and here down in the YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe and share us with all your friends. And if you listen to us in podcast form, 5 stars and comments help us grow so much. And if again, just check us out on Patreon if you want to help fund some of these fun growing sports media enterprises. Patreon.com/thegameovernetwork for more tantalizing goodies. All right, now that I've got the ad read out of the way, let's change the period marker. And let's talk about the good in this game. The good is that third line.
oh,
And
for
the
sure.
bad is the rest of it. But we'll start with the
Yeah.
third line. It's players that feel like they want to play more. Because sometimes you look at guys that maybe are from Russia and have been eating a lot of popcorn recently. It doesn't seem like they want to play. And sometimes even with our big guns, like as we've seen Jonathan Huberdeau kind of starting to run into that slower portion of his season once again. And I even think Martin Pospisil falls in that description. But with those three
Yeah.
guys, it's we want to be on the ice, we want to have the puck, we want to score goals. And with Karen's, and I think even with Sharon Govich, you're starting to see a little bit more of that defensive responsibility fall in. And I think Matt Coronado still has a lot to learn on where he needs to be defensively in the Flame system, but I think he's trying to work on that. So what are your thoughts on that line?
Yeah, like the third line. Well, again, they were the line that scored tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they're playing better defensively, and it's easy. If you do good defensively, it leads to breakouts, which leads to opportunities down on the ice. Like you saw on the Sharon Govich goal, they took it from their own end on a breakaway, and just battled hard. They battled in the corner, won the puck battles against all the Blues players, got it out to Sharkey, and he was able to put it in because Sharkey is a natural goal scorer. When he wants to shoot the puck, oftentimes it goes in. And I feel like if the Flames were to able to, all lines be able to be good defensively enough where they're able to get out on a breakout and maybe even a quick 3-on-2, and they can get a quick rush goal. They don't need offensive time. You get that quick rush goal. That defense then is feels better, feeling way more supported because they got rewarded for it.
Yeah. But for their other 3 lines, I think maybe it's time to open the blender up again. Like, I know everyone is really happy with the offensive production that the Kadri and Huberdeau pairing produced through December, but it's dried up and dried up quick.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's time to see if someone else needs to get the Coleman Backlund bump. I understand that Peltier has been brilliant on that line, but I think it might just be time to see. Maybe you need to throw Huberdeau down with that to get his confidence back up. Put Peltier in with Kadri, who has been playing with a lot of jump. I'll give that to the man wearing 91. But I think it might just be time to shift some of the pieces. Maybe that's shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. But and the 4th line, they just keep getting caved in. Like it's getting sad at this point.
Yeah, and especially like obviously you're not expecting to put your 4th line out there and be like, all right, go score a goal, go score a goal, go score a goal. But if you're just getting hemmed in every like day in, day out, at what point do you kind of look at it and be like, okay, when do we need to change this up?
And it's such a shame. Like, this has been something I've been pounding the drum on for a long time. I've convinced Matt to join me, and shout out to Anand, who's in chat right now. Obviously doesn't have to work Sportsnet in the morning. But the Flames need to stop carrying 8 D-men. Like, if we're not rotating 2 D-men in a back-to-back into a short break away from home, what's the point in carrying extra bodies in the defensive department? Like,
yeah, I agree.
Even if that's just to say, here, Walker, take the night off. Let's get in. Oh, what was his name? The 7'3", or the tall winger that we have now with the Wranglers. He was started the year with the Flames. This is terrible.
The 7'3" Wranglers.
He's tall. It's maybe not 7'3". That might have been a little bit, but someone like Adam Klapka. That's the name.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
like, bring up Klapka. Bring up someone like Clark Bishop. Like, I know you need him for the leadership that he brings to the Wranglers, but Clark Bishop, maybe give you another center option. Because I think it's kind of, for me, it's the Rune's magic has worn off. He played 5 minutes and 31 seconds today, and it just isn't good enough. Like, he's not winning face-offs. He's okay. He gets his minute and 20 seconds on the penalty kill. Can we not send out literally anyone else? Send out Backlund and Coleman again. Like, let's go back to what worked in times gone by.
Like, it's like on a penalty kill too. You don't need a 4th liner out there all the time. If you think you can get the jump on a weak power play, I don't know exactly where the Blues power play falls under for just like rankings.
Yeah.
But there's no harm in putting Kadri out there for a bit of a shift. He's an NHL player. He knows how to play a bit of the penalty kill, but he's also a player that if he gets that opportunity for that jump, he'll go. He will take that opportunity.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. Obviously, the Flames also has to transition their special teams with the coach who was coaching their special teams now on a leave of absence. So you kind of have to shift things out of necessity on that, but there's plenty of guys, and Anand brought up William Stromgren as well. Stromgren, I don't think we need another left winger because I don't think there's any way you're taking the $3 million that is Ryan Lomberg and taking him out of the lineup.
No, and I think he's just a good sense to have. I think even if, like, because he's a good guy, if you need that spark, he'll get you that spark, right?
Yeah. And, like, you can have Klapka, who is essentially a very similar player, playing on the right. I think that just kind of works out a little bit better in my mind than putting the veteran on his off wing for 4th line minutes. But does it really matter? No, yeah. Like, is this also another case of, as I said, shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic when we've already hit the berg? Like, I don't know. Because it almost feels like you might need to break with, if we are not sending a defenseman down at this point, it almost feels like we need to start cycling in Kuzmenko. If nothing else is working, why not throw the other thing that's not working that has the potential, right? Because he's still a guy who has a hell of a shot when he chooses to, is a positive force in the locker room from everything I've heard. Try and get him his cookies, try and get him feeling more positive about his game. Maybe that's where we need to go, and if that means Blake Coleman needs to go spend a couple days on that fourth line, maybe that's the way we need to go. Matt C in chat saying he likes the prospects of Klapka, Pospisil, Longberg. That drops Pospisil a long way down the lineup. Maybe that means he takes a little bit more of a power play role.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the sounds of that, but I do think it might be the end of Rooney once we get some more healthy center depth.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And I'm really liking, I think it's Rory Cairns.
Rory
That's how you
Cairns.
say it? Cairns. I really like how he's been playing. Like, regardless, wins or losses, he's showing he's a decent NHL player. And obviously, his line was easily by far the best line for Calgary tonight. And obviously, you don't want to just put him, like, he's doing good. You're making him look very good, but then just throw him back to the AHL.
No, that doesn't sound like...
No.
But we've had this earlier in the season too. Obviously, Justin Kirkland, won't be seeing more of him this year, but a very similar story. Like, gets the call up, injects some energy. And with Cairns, and you saw it with Costco, of them getting that opportunity and then falling back a little bit after a few games, but still maintaining a level of relevance, right?
Oh, for 100%. Like, and that's... You're not gonna like these guys are not like your McDavids, your top tier high level guys.
No,
these guys are they're gonna have off nights. Every player has an off night, and the fact that they're able to have an off night but still be a strong enough presence for the team, and then the next night they play better, just shows kind of a decent locker room, like a tight bond group with the guys that even no matter who gets sent or gets sent down. They're still it's still like a family.
I agree. But I think we've kind of pounded that into the dirt enough, and we're at the 30-minute mark, so I kind of want to get us going into the fourth period. Or third period and overtime. So, folks, if you have any questions, start throwing them in chat. I will go back and get to them. But before we go into our third period, we do need to get another ad read. If you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want more of this content, right? Well, then make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on the channel. Make sure you check that notification bell so you're alerted when we do go live. If you're listening to the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and write a positive review if you really like it. If you want more of that, then follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find the Game Over Network on Blue Sky at thegameovernetwork.com. That is actually what the tag is. You can use your URL. It's a fun little quirk about Blue Sky. If you're watching on TikTok for however long that app still lasts, or on Twitter, it's at GameOverNHL, or on Instagram, Threads, and over on LinkedIn. If you want to add us over on there, that's just Game Over Network on those sites. For myself personally, I'm winding down my presence on X. I'm still there at Conrad Casts. I am trying to be more on Blue Sky at conradkrausert.bsky.social. And what social media do you have to shout out for the show?
Honestly, I like to keep just a show presence on social media. I ain't got much to post. Maybe in the future we'll set that out.
We'll figure that one out in the future. But as you know, you can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter that we're setting up. We're kicking it old school. It's the old school newsletter / blog. So check us out on all sorts of social media. But we do have to get into the discipline issues for this Calgary Flames squad.
Yeah, I was waiting for this one.
As we saw, 2 goals coming with the orange armed Zebra's arm in the air, 1 power play goal, and the fact that the Blues were 33% on the power play.
and they
It's
only
ju-
actually had one power play.
yeah. Yeah. It's
It's yeah,
it's awful. Especially when your penalty. Well, number one, you can't win a face-off to save your life. Like the fact that the Flames were 47% on the dot today is one of their
yeah,
highest marks of the season. That's
yeah. No, I
shocking.
think especially like on a power play opportunity, like
Or penalty
you gotta
kill.
be,
Yeah.
or yeah, sorry, on a penalty kill, you gotta. Those are draws that are almost must wins. You win them down, you get a nice. You win them down, you shoot it. You win the draw, shoot it down. You kill off 15 to 20 seconds, but they weren't winning the faceoffs that they needed to win.
When Michael Backlund is our only center we can send out reliably to win faceoffs. And like I'm even gonna check that out today because Bax hasn't been that great on the draws recently. Yeah, and was only a 42.9% today. Blake Coleman with his one faceoff 100%. Matt Coronado, who we've seen
Yeah,
taking more draws, not a full-time center by any stretch of the imagination, 100%.
Kadri sitting at a 47%.
Karen's 50%, which is fine for a bottom six center.
Yeah,
But that's when you take penalties and you can't win faceoffs, you are putting yourself at a massive disadvantage immediately.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, and as we said, the two big D men, their struggles continued, and when those two guys are struggling, it just adds that much more pressure when you're going down a man.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it doesn't help too that one of the Blues goals came from Colton Parenko, which oftentimes like you get a good shot off him from the point, then Wolf can't see. There's a good chance that goes in, right? Like these draws are vital for the fact that you have to be able to win the draw or at least get into the shooting lane so Wolf can at least have a chance to see the puck and make the save from the point.
That is 100% true, and like I always say this when I'm commentating for like AAA, like goalies are so good that if they can see the puck 90% of the time, they're going to stop it.
Oh, for
But
sure.
with the obsession of Wolf today on that Pareko goal, kind of a bit
Yeah.
of a muffin. But it's been rough seeing how this
Yeah.
team struggles and just puts additional pressure on the two goaltenders because they can't stay 5-on-5.
No, and that definitely hurt him today. And uh like oftentimes some penalties are good penalties. Like you're trying to get it if
None
you're
of these
stopping a
were.
break. Yeah, there was just no excuse for any of them. You did get a fighting one, which I guess you were trying to spark the team,
Well,
but
and
it just
and it's you get the instigator on a fight with
yeah
under 5 minutes left. It's not like
yeah
that
it's
was
just
happening in the second period and you're trying to actually spark the team.
no, it was about a period and a half too late.
Yep, I am certainly in agreement there. So we'll head into the overtime period. I don't know, I didn't see too many questions, but I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on what Matt C said after this ad read. What better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing? Game Over's apparel line has dropped, supporting 3 unique design. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you just needed another coffee mug to get through the cold winter, which I've been told is coming this weekend finally for us here in Calgary, we have you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code that I'm going to throw up on screen. I'm going to have to block you for a little bit here, Marek, just because of
Yeah,
how
no
this works.
worries.
But if you hit that QR code down in the bottom corner, it'll take you straight to the Game Over Calgary apparel store. Take a look through and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community or any of our communities throughout the Game Over network. I actually kind of found it funny, like, because how similar the color schemes are for Calgary and Ottawa. I was like,
Yeah.
if only it didn't say Ottawa and it was just the same colors but reversed, it would look like a Blasty shirt. But
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was taking a look at those the other day and they look I think they look really good.
and of course I forgot to turn the
Incoming.
intro off as I come back. Technology, don't you love it? I just wish I could have gotten one and just like scraped off the Ottawa and made it Calgary, but that's a little outside of my art skills.
Yeah.
But a good comment here from Matt C. things seem brighter if we just focus on what our prospects are doing in the junior leagues. And I certainly agree. Like, I'm just on Elite Prospects right now, and obviously, great resource for us all. But when you talked and you saw that Ottawa 67's trade for Henry Muse, and Henry Muse is drawing a prospect and 6 picks for him alone, that's like, obviously the Flames have done something there. A prospect that I didn't really know how to evaluate before this season started, in Jacob Battaglia, playing well for the Knacks, 52 points in 39 games. That's a huge step for him. Obviously,
for sure.
Luke Misa for the Steelheads, 52 and 39 as well. Like, there is lots of hope for this Flames in the pipeline that haven't even hit the AHL level yet, let alone looking at the A. I closed my Calgary Wranglers roster. But I think we're finally starting to see some of the guys who had early season injuries come back. I think Sam Morton's back. I think we've seen a little bit of Honzek recently, who they are listing as a left winger. I've always was like hoping that there is still hope for him as a center, but it seems that dream has gone to smoke. And like, you got to think there is still guys on the back end who, if we do decide to offload some number of D-men at the trade deadline, I think Uyghur's pretty solidly safe. I think Braden Bahal's probably safe, which is so weird because at the start of the season I had no idea who Braden Bahal was after the waiver claim, but like, he's been probably one of the best 2 D-men's on most nights, even though he's only playing 13 to 15 minutes.
Oh, for sure. The same thing goes like a few years ago from Sharon Govich. You get the trade nobody knows, and he becomes an absolute star.
But yeah, and you know what? I'll say this of the Wranglers, because I forgot to put us into the third period, let alone overtime, on our graphic here. I'm really showing you the ropes on how to not do things today. But like, there's guys like Artem Grushnikov, Jeremy Poirier, who's kind of seemed to be the next guy up every year, but can never break through just because there's so many icebergs in front of him. Hunter Brustevich, obviously highly thought of. His first year in the A has been doing fairly well. Jonathan Aspro, who nobody had any idea he was Magic Beans as far as I was concerned. Yan Kuznetsov and Ilya Solovyov. Like, there is guys that I think are NHLers in this Wranglers program. And it's time for me to eat some crow as I say that. A lot of these guys have credited Jared Tenorti with a lot of the learning how to be a professional hockey player. Yeah. I wondered what in the hell Craig Conroy was doing, signing this guy who's big and tall and has played for a million teams, but having him as the veteran presence for this fairly young defensive group has really provided them a lot of mentorship. Just think of how much better it will be if we could send someone else veteran down that way to provide more leadership. But exactly. I digress. Obviously, the Wranglers, I think they're still in first place in the Pacific for the AHL. I think they just beat the Roadrunners a couple games. Yeah, they do have the most games played in the Pacific Division, but they're up 7 points over the closest competition in the Colorado Eagles. So, and I know it's like AHL success doesn't always translate to NHL success. If it did, Dallas Eakins would be the best coach in the NHL. But he's now coaching in Europe. So, like, there is cause for optimism moving forward, is I think the way I'll put it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. Obviously, well, recently you just sent up Rory Cairns, and look what he's been able to do already in a small sample size. But if more Wrangler players kind of follow that pattern, that's a very good kind of streak that from AHL to NHL that the Flames could capitalize on. and kind of make the rebuild or whatever you want to call the retool at the moment go a lot quicker.
And also, you kind of get those guys who are kind of the tweeners in free agency, and they can say, look, the Flames prospects, the Wranglers pipeline is able to get me to a level where I can work my way onto an NHL roster. I think a lot of those guys look at that over the summer and say, hey, even if I'm not there yet, this is a chance for me to go to a system that builds that.
Oh, for sure.
I wish we had gotten Matty Phillips back in the offseason, but Matthew Phillips, come home. Anyways, I think you are right, Matt, in saying even when times get tough, like for the big squad, us taking a look down to the junior leagues and to the Wranglers gives us a little bit of a brightening. And obviously, someone I kind of have passively been watching is Jaden Lipinski. He got sent back to the Vancouver Giants, and 31 points in 32 games for a true center in Vancouver, not like the other guy that we just mentioned. But yeah, so that's a name that you might want to watch moving forward. Should we be looking to bring up one of the young D-men from the Wranglers? Was another question from Matt C. I don't know. That would require so many moving pieces, and
yeah, I think like for Cairns, he kind of got a lucky. Unfortunately, with Connor Zary, that's what kind of prompted him to go. But at the moment, I can't see the Flames bringing any one of these defensemen up unless, hopefully, knock on wood, no, someone gets hurt. Hopefully, it doesn't happen.
yeah,
Unless
you do a deal that sends Tyson Barrie out of town.
Yeah.
And Craig Conroy falls out of love with Dennis Miramanov even further. There's just too many, like the fact that we're carrying 8, you're carrying a whole extra pairing. So that doesn't leave a lot of room for these young guys to have that runway.
No, exactly. And it's also bad because you don't want to force it, right? That's bad for the team. It's also bad for the players' development if you just throw them in kind of all just whenever, however. You got to be kind of particular with it. You got to choose the right guy. You can't just throw the rookie. You can't just take the veteran, put him in the starting lineup. You just got to kind of wait for the right opportunity to see if it presents itself and to kind of go from there, essentially.
Yeah, and Phobos 1869 saying the Flames are a lock to score under 3 goals. I'm not a gambling man, but I kind of am tempted to just go onto an app of choice and just say, let's put my loony in for the under every time the Flames drop the puck and see how much that can grow over to the end of the season.
Maybe you'll jinx it. Maybe they'll end up scoring 6. They'll score double.
And I lose $1. Heaven forbid. I can eat that. And just a reminder that the Flames do technically have the NHL rights to Nikita Okhotyuk. I've heard that he's not too happy with returning to Russia, but I don't think it's overly easy to get out of there right now. And I don't think he'll be welcomed back very warmly either.
No, that's beyond hockey.
Yep.
And that's a world thing, and that's way out of our
out of our depth. But that is a name that I've heard, like, maybe it's the conspiracy theorists, the same guys who said the Raiders need to crash their jet intentionally to get to the emergency draft for the Raiders to be better in the NFL. Had you heard that? It's like the weirdest conspiracy theory.
Yeah, no. Well, Raiders fans are a little bit down bad for any good news, so.
Yes, this is true, but it is kind of something that, unfortunately, with the way that Craig Conroy and the front office have built this roster to this point, it doesn't have a lot of opportunities for these young guys to do any more than, here, let's go win a AHL championship and see what comes next year. But go ahead.
No, I was about to say I agree with you completely. I think, again, you don't want to force anything that hurts your team as well as hurts the production of or the progression of these players. So it's an awkward spot, but you're just gonna you just gotta go one day at a time kind of deal.
Actually, you know what, Marek? I have one question for you because you watch more than just the Flames.
I do,
Which
yes.
which team, if any, is willing to spite their fans and spite the rest of the league and offer Tony DeAngelo a contract after he just had another team avoid his
Oh,
contract in Russia?
I honestly, I don't think if you're even if you're desperate for a defenseman, I don't even know if you take that. Because how
It's
old is like I don't know that's he's 29 years old. Like he's okay for an NHL defenseman age. I don't think you take the risk. I don't think no matter how bad, like if you're bottom of the barrel, Chicago, San Jose, or if you're at the top, like and you need a veteran defenseman, I think you just leave it. You don't take the risk. You don't take the negative publicity that could come with it. I think you just leave it. To be honest.
I agree. But I think that will be the end of us tonight. Marek, thank you so much for jumping in and joining. I think you have another game a little bit later this week. I have one more game left before I head on a bit of a break for myself. I get to go down to the terrible, terrible, awful weather that comes in Oahu, Hawaii for 9 days.
Oh,
So I'm sure
okay,
everyone feels
okay,
absolutely awful for me
okay.
getting to take that vacation, but I do. Yeah, this is my last show before I head off for that. So, fans, I will be back. You might see a little bit of a different skin tone when I come back. But thank you so much, fans. I'll be watching as much as I can. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, hit that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all those fun YouTube things. We'll be back. Well, I won't be back, but Anand will be here on Saturday. Actually, he won't be here. It'll be on Game Over Winnipeg. It'll be on their channel as it is a crossover. Next chat on this will actually be with Marek and Matt when the Flames host the Sabres on the 23rd. Thank you so much once again.
Hopefully, a better ending.
Oh, we can only hope. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.